Good evening. I'm Mike Tappan and I make Northfield Sound amplifiers now. This is my first tube amp build and I'm pleased to say everything went smashingly. What we've got is based off of the silver phase Fender Vibrochamp, but as we'll discuss and discover, it's got a lot of significant modifications to it, taking it well beyond what a normal Vibrochamp should sound like. All right, so to start off, everyone wants to hear the clean sound. And with the volume all the way up. We got the typical bass and treble tone stack. I don't think I need to explain how that works. We got the vibrato channel. It's not switchable. I left it to where it's always engaged, and if you don't like the vibrato sound, just dial the depth all the way down. The original Vibrochamps had a little RCA jack switch that would run out to the floor that you could switch it on and off. But I got it wired to where it's always in, so eliminating the need of that extra foot switch. All right, and now let's discuss the modifications that we got. On the first tube in the preamp, the first 12AX7, there's I believe it's a 10 microfarad electrolytic capacitor coming from off of the cathode, I believe, of the first stage of the two stages in that 12AX7. And I read that the original, the Tweed era Fender amps didn't have that capacitor there. And taking it out of the circuit significantly increases your gain. Let's see. That's with it in. The stock circuit had it in. This is with it out. Right? Pretty crunchy. It's getting there. But the gain doesn't end there. We can get even more out of this. As you see, I'm using this very sexy pink Vox coily cable. No pedals, no nothing. Coming out of a Vibrochamp. Now check this out. The tone stack in these amps, and in most amps to my knowledge, are a passive tone stack, meaning it only diminishes the signal coming through it because it's going through what? Capacitors and potentiometers. That's resistance and diminishing frequency response from the capacitors. If we were to entirely bypass that entire tone section, we save a lot of our original signal. Check this out. I didn't believe it at first either, but who knew you were losing so much signal just by going through the tone stack? But it's switchable if you still want to be able to control your bass and treble from the amp. That's fine. For my applications, for my personal use, you got tone knobs on your guitar. Why would you need it on your amp? You know, it's less stuff to worry about over here. All right, so all gain on. incorporated. There's the, I think it was a 2.7 kilo ohm resistor coming from the output transformer, going directly back to, I think it was one of the power amp tube, the 6V6. And negative feedback kind of eliminates certain frequencies while boosting others. But if I read on one particular forum, by tweaking the value of that resistor and moving it to a slightly different location, it kind of increases the mid-range a little bit. Let's check that out. That's the stock. This here is the stock circuit. This is with that negative feedback resistor being changed to a 22 kilo ohm resistor. Not the most obvious change, but it is there. It's very subtle, but you got to be listening for it. Two other things I want to point out. There's the low power switch. Now that one I was a little bit confused by. In one particular forum that I was reading, they was saying that the deluxe series amplifiers ran at a significantly lower voltage going to the preamp tubes than what was later being put into application on things like the Vibrochamp. It was about 35 volts difference, where the stock Vibrochamp was running 35 volts higher than what the old deluxe amps were running at. So by changing one of the power side resistors, going from I think it was like 10 kilo ohms and bumping it up to about 22 kilo ohms, dropped the voltage going into the preamp tube by 35 degrees or 35 volts, putting it at I think it was probably around 212 volts, where it was supposed to be around 250. But anyway, to be frank, I don't think it was that big a difference. I personally can't hear it, but in any case, it does significantly drop the voltage going into that preamp tube, making it run a little bit colder, which in the long run is going to preserve your tube life. So we're going to call it a voltage sag switch, or a tube longevity switch. That's the stock circuit. This is running at lower power. Frankly, I don't really hear it, but I did test it on a multimeter. There is a change there. A few other things. I added a standby switch to preserve the tube rectifier, because just turning it straight on and off, you're slamming that rectifier tube with 300 volts around there every time you turn it on. But when you incorporate a standby switch, it kind of alleviates that, also preserving the life of your rectifier tube. The cabinet itself was made by my good friend and business partner with Sykes Guitars. He did fabulous work here with, it was some kind of cherry wood. It was cherry on the outside, which we stained black as midnight, black as pitch. But I actually like it, because rather than paint the cabinet black and using a stain, you can still see the wood grain, which is nice. We got curly maple on the front, perforated aluminum grill here to keep anybody from sticking their fingers on the hot tubes and such. And that's pretty much it, you guys. My homemade Fender Vibrochamp mod, where I call it El Vibradoro, by the way. Northfield Sound. Sound. Peace, dudes.